After my, 22 female, dad divorced my mom and knocked up his side piece, we didn't have a very close relationship. I would only hear about my half-sister through my grandparents and only see her occasionally when we were both invited to my grandparents. Not my dad, though, because he didn't get along with his parents. So when my dad died, I was surprised to find out he had left me half of his estate. The other half went to my half-sister. What was also surprising is he left me in charge of my half-sister's half of the estate. She was still a minor at the time. This angered my half-sister's mother. She decided she was going to contest the will. I knew if I were left in charge of the money, I would have to deal with her regularly. So I decided I didn't want to, so I didn't argue about it. So the assets in the estate were all sold off and combined with the money left in savings, and I took my half of the money and let my half-sister's mother be in charge of her daughter's half. That was about 2 years ago. My half-sister recently turned 18, and she discovered that her mother used up all the money. So my half-sister's mad at me because I didn't stay in charge of her money like our dad had wanted. Her mom was known not to be trustworthy with money. Nobody said anything about it, but she said it was explained in the letter our dad left me, which I never read. It's not a huge deal because, like I said, we're not close. But still, I thought I'd get some outside opinions because I'm going to have to see her in person at holidays at my grandparents' this year. So, am I the idiot for not being in charge of my half-sister's money? Edit. It wasn't in court. My lawyer was doing the will stuff. The lawyer said it was a private letter. I didn't see anything like a copy in any of the other paperwork either. Not the idiot. This type of litigation is almost always miserable, and I don't blame anyone for not wanting to be a part of it, especially in this case where you have no stake in the game. Your half-sister should be mad at her mother. I'm guessing she's directing her anger at you instead because she doesn't want to start a fight with her only remaining parent. But that's her problem, not yours. Also, any semi-competent lawyer would have told your dad to use a professional truster, not the barely adult daughter, to administer the trust if he was concerned about trust management. The primary reason someone wouldn't do that is because it costs money, so this is very likely also on him for being cheap. I think either you or the lawyer were the idiots here. The fact that the mother wasn't named as the financial guardian should have put you on notice that your father probably didn't see her as a safe or fit trustee of that money. Otherwise, she would have been the obvious choice. There were ways to address this kind of issue without you having to be responsible for the money, like having the mother appointed but post a bond, having most of the money kept by an attorney or other fiduciary until the half-sister turned 18. Also, you didn't read the letter. That was not very smart. I can understand wanting to just be done with it, but that letter combined with the money could have legal implications. Oh, screw off. OP's father should never have put the child he abandoned in charge of a sister's money that she's not even close to. Is OP a lawyer? No. Why should she have to do anything? Why should OP take on such a huge responsibility because her estranged father told her it was her problem? It would be akin to your boss telling you to do janitor work when you were hired for IT. Also, anyone who says OP's an idiot for not reading the letter doesn't have manipulative parents, which is good for them, but they don't get to pass judgment on things they don't understand. Agree. How much extra money and time did OP have to fight the side piece contesting the will? Anyone who calls OP an idiot doesn't understand the system. Also, I think it was really half-sister's mother that wanted to contest the will for this very reason, to take her daughter's money. But that's not your problem either. Your half-sister definitely has a case against her own mother for breach of fiduciary duty. A trustee isn't allowed to use a trust for herself, just for the beneficiary of the trust. She can sue her mom, but that's between them. I'm a 23-year-old female. In middle school, I was excluded and treated really harshly by my fellow classmates. I live in a predominantly Asian area and am Asian myself, but I was never seen as Asian enough by most of my peers because I was chubby and didn't do well in school, neurodivergent. They would constantly be passive-aggressive to me and act like a pest whenever I was trying to genuinely be nice. So I started resenting them and hanging out with the people who accepted me. Today I've changed a lot. I lost tons of weight after high school, and I made friends with a photographer who helped me get a startup with modeling. I'm not nearly as successful as Naomi Campbell, but I do high fashion editorial modeling. I'm proud of my position, and I'm aware that I'm very fortunate to be in the position I'm in. Yesterday night was my middle school reunion. I have a good group of friends I've known since middle school, so we all went together. When we arrived, I felt uncomfortable and only spoke to my group or the people who didn't treat me like crap. Whenever one of the people who used to act crappy towards me tried to speak to me, I just ignored them, continuing to talk and not looking at them at all. I didn't see an issue. They did the same thing to me, but apparently it irritated one of the dudes. This one posted my low test score to humiliate me in middle school. He approached me and tried to talk to me, but I ignored him. He told me I thought I was better than everyone else and that I was acting like a stuck-up prick. I replied that I am better than everyone else, and that's why I have a more successful career. We then had some back and forth because I mentioned that he treated me like crap, so he shouldn't act entitled to my time or respect. At that point, my friends told me to let's leave. I personally feel like you dish out what you get. They all did the same crap to me in middle school. My friends were all on my side, but some felt like I could have tried to be nice to keep the peace. Am I the idiot? Middle school reunion? Jesus Christ, why? I wouldn't go to my high school reunion if I were guaranteed money for going. My best friend has been my best friend since middle school, and I wouldn't go for her, but she'd never suggest I go. Everyone's the idiot here, because it's a middle school reunion. No one cares. All of you need to grow up. Not at all. You should have seen me at my 40-year kindergarten reunion. It was one for the ages. Who eats glue now, Gary? Let's see you smear the finger paint on me again, Rachel. So, Larry, you still peeing in the sandbox? Good old times. So basically, to punish the children that acted like children, you, as an adult, acted like a rude child. Gotcha. Also, I'm better than everyone else? In front of everyone else, including your friends. Bet they felt awesome. Yep, you are the idiot. Congrats, OP, you're now the bully. If you practice harder, you can turn it up for your high school reunion. Acting like this at a middle school reunion? Please, you could have handled this situation differently and showed some maturity on your level. I get that those people treated you like crap, but you aren't helping your case by doing the same thing they did to you. You know how you show a person up who's bullied you? Not stoop down to their level. None of us are the snot we used to be in middle school. Many years after I graduated, I discovered the kids who were the meanest had rotten home lives. They acted out at school because it was the only way to feel good about themselves. It's okay not to forget. Forgiving is actually for your benefit. I cleanse your heart of the anger you hold. Some background. I, 36 male, was married for 8 years and had 1 kid. After the kid was born, I got a vasectomy, which was a few years ago, because I'm not interested in having more children. We ended up getting divorced about 2 years ago. I started dating my recent ex-girlfriend, 33, a little less than 9 months ago. When we started dating and the kid conversation came up, I was very clear about not wanting any more children, and that would not change. I didn't bring my procedure up at that point, partly because I didn't think it mattered, and partly because I didn't think it was their business that early on. Fast forward to this week, she told me she was pregnant. At this point, I said the child was unlikely mine, and I wouldn't have any involvement in this until a paternity test was done. My reasoning is that she was supposedly on birth control, and I, in theory, should be sterile, so the odds seemed pretty astronomical to me. This obviously turned into a fight. She accused me of being dishonest with her, which I guess is a lie of omission, and it isn't being completely honest. Am I the idiot for not disclosing my procedure earlier? Edit. I do plan to get retested, But I've been tested 3 times already. All I showed was I was still sterile, so not expecting much change there, but who knows? Secondly, I was on the fence about the relationship for the last month. Even if the child is mine, I don't have much interest in trying to mend the relationship, though I will try to be a good co-parent and apologize for my strong suggestions of cheating. Not the idiot. Get a paternity test. My friend had a child from a man who had a vasectomy. It shocked the both of them as she was still on birth control anyway. DNA confirmed the child was his. They're still together. However, initially I remember her crying because he didn't believe it was his, and she felt hopeless in her ability to prove it. I know they did therapy for a while. Oh, one of my friends had a child 18 years after the last child. His vasectomy reversed itself on one side, thus Charlotte was born. Test your swimmers before anything else. It is possible that the baby could still be yours. I can see you saying that your medical info is not anyone's business, but after 9 months of dating, they should have been made aware. You are the idiot. I would be so mad if I were on the pill for no reason. That conversation should have been interchangeable from the get-go. I think that when a couple is discussing birth control and preventing pregnancy, it's time to say that you've had a procedure. If she was taking hormones that she didn't need to take, it was putting her body through something unneeded, and birth control is a monthly expense. If you can't talk about your birth control, which on your part was a vasectomy, you aren't ready for intimacy with your partner. My son lost his first wife when their 2 children were preschoolers. My grandson is now nearly adult, and my granddaughter's in her mid-teens. Their relationship with my son has been on a downward spiral for years. It started when he and his current wife moved in together. She had 2 kids of her own, and early on, they showed extreme jealousy whenever their mom would pay attention or buy anything for my grandkids. They were older teenagers and said several cruel things to my grandkids. My grandkids told my son. They told my wife and me. We spoke to our son, but he ignored all 4 of us. My wife also spoke to my son's second wife prior to the wedding, and she said her kids would adjust in time. My grandkids spent years living with 2 much older kids who told them they deserved to have a dead mom and that she wanted to die because nobody would want them around. They accused them of stealing from them because their mom shouldn't be doing anything for them. There were incidents where they broke the stuff their mom bought my grandkids. My wife and I pleaded with our son to do something to help the kids. We said they didn't deserve to be raised like that. The problems continued even after the older kids moved out. They still expressed a lot of jealousy and hatred for my grandkids. I never interacted much with my son's stepkids. I saw them a handful of times in the years my son has been married to his current wife. They would mostly go to their dad if my son and his wife were spending time with us or any of our other kids, or they would reject offers to spend time with us. But the few times I did see them, I was always shocked by how blatant their hate of my grandkids was and how my son never appeared to care. One incident in particular stands out. It was my granddaughter's birthday, and she had got some art kit she had wanted. It set off the 2 older kids who called her a witch baby, and they even broke part of the kit. My wife and I spoke up to our son and his wife, but they did nothing and said nothing. My grandkids now spend a lot of time with me and my wife. They hardly speak to their dad despite living under his roof. They wanted us to get custody of them, but we were denied, so they've done their best to make it through the next year/2 years. My son is now only starting to care that the relationship with his kids has been destroyed. He asked me why we tried to fight for custody of the kids when he was their dad, and he accused my wife and I of turning the kids against him. That's when I stopped him, and I said we didn't turn them against him. He's just living with the consequences of ignoring what his kids tell him. I told him he put them through years of bullying so he could marry and stay married, and now he has to live with his decision. My son ranted at me and said the last thing any parent should do is try to make their kid feel crappy about themselves, which is what I was doing. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Wow. The irony of your son suggesting that you're making him feel bad. What about how bad he's made his kids feel for years? The obliviousness of some people. Good luck helping those kids make it through the next year until both can move out. One question: did you take the time to tell your step-grandchildren off? If you haven't, I suggest you do that as soon as possible and in front of your grandchildren. I bet they would love to see that. He's had plenty of opportunities to ensure the relationship with his kids would be better. In addition to his kids and you telling him about the things that had happened, he also witnessed things, like the example you're giving with the birthdays. You're not turning his kids against him. You're giving his kids a place to escape their home situation. And the only reason that's a necessity is because their dad didn't defend them against that. That's on him. Your son should have kicked his stepkids out of his house years ago. Why do people let some random kids mistreat their kids? Your son is dead wrong. You should make your kid feel crappy if they're being crappy. Those kids are going to go no contact the minute they can. I'm glad you've been there for your grandkids. Sorry for my trailer trash family drama. I, 24 female, was with my ex for almost a year. I ended up getting pregnant because the dummy pill simply didn't work. I decided to keep the baby, and now I have my kindergarten-age daughter, who I love and co-parent with her father. I have a cousin, Miranda, 27 female. She has 3 kids from a different dad, and earlier this year, she got pregnant by my ex-boyfriend during random hookups. She didn't stay with him. I'm not just being an idiot either. Everyone in my area knows she's easy. We were at my aunt's birthday, and I wasn't on speaking terms with Miranda because she's weird for that, but she has a daughter my daughter's age, and they were playing together. I look over and see Miranda with her baby, and she tells my daughter, "This is your cousin, but also your baby brother." This irritated me because my daughter is young, confused, and just looking at her. So I stood up and told Miranda not to tell her that. She's too young to understand. Miranda came up to me, and she said she had a right to know, and it was wrong I was withholding her sibling from her. I wasn't withholding anything. She doesn't understand and doesn't need this confusion in her head. I told her not to bring that up to my daughter anymore, and she called me a witch and continued to say my daughter had a right to know. So I took my daughter and left. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You get to decide when your daughter learns her family tree doesn't fork as much as other family trees. Your cousin is way out of line. Stay away from trailer trash. Oh, if only her dad would stop forking her family tree. You are the idiot for being so judgmental. If she's easy, what about your ex? Or does that only apply to women? I love the blatant misogyny and jealousy that he moved on to your cousin. I'm sorry you were both dumb enough to sleep with this guy, and I'm sorry you're mad at your cousin for doing the same thing you did and keeping your ex's kid. This is, in fact, not nearly as complicated as you're trying to pretend it is. Daddy made a baby with cousin Miranda, and this is him. He's your little brother. Bam, done. Easy enough for a kindergartner to understand. Agree. Every study on this sort of thing shows children should know these things. A typical kindergartner can understand this, and presenting it as some secret and confusing thing will make it harder for her. That said, introducing this concept to the daughter should have been left in OP's hands. Everyone's the idiot here. Cousin for going around OP, and OP for wanting to keep this from her daughter and being judgmental.